Hello, dear students, you are welcome back to STR Shivarajan's teaching room. Today we are opening a new chapter, the third chapter of the textbook and the first chapter belonging to Zoology segment, and it is human reproduction. So we know what is reproduction. What is reproduction? Reproduction is the ability of an organism to produce young ones similar to itself. We know that. If so, what is human reproduction? Of course, it is the ability of human beings to reproduce young ones. Is called human reproduction. Human reproduction is the ability of human beings to produce young ones. So, when we speak of human reproduction, it has three important features. What are they? One, human beings reproduce sexually. Human beings are unisexual. Human beings are viviparous. So we know that reproduction is of two types. What are they? Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. But human beings reproduce sexually. So there may be a question like this. Human beings reproduce sexually or asexually. You have to select any one of these to fill this. So human beings reproduce sexually or asexually. So what is the answer? Human beings reproduce sexually. Okay. Then human beings are unisexual. What do you mean unisexual? There is a male parent and a female parent. In human beings or in many organisms, majority of the organisms, either it will be a male animal or a female animal. An organism will not have both the male and female reproductive systems. So we have only one reproductive system, either male or female. So human beings have only one sex, that is male sex or female sex. So there are certain organisms which are having both the male and female reproductive systems. Those animals will be termed as bisexual. So what is bisexual? Organisms having both the male and female reproductive systems are called as bisexual or monoecious, we can say. Then, so again, this may also be appearing as a question. Human beings are dash. Within the bracket it will be unisexual or bisexual. So the answer will be human beings are unisexual. So the bisexual organisms, for example, earthworm, leech, etc. There are some organisms which are having both the male and female sex organs. We can say that these organisms are bisexual, or such organisms are called as hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite. So earthworm is a hermaphrodite. Leech is a hermaphrodite. So what is a hermaphrodite? An organism having both the male and female reproductive systems are called bisexual or hermaphrodite. Then again, the third thing is human beings are viviparous. So what is viviparous? Viviparous means there are two types of sexual reproduction. In certain organisms, the organism lays eggs, and in some other organisms, they give birth to young ones. Those organisms which give birth to young ones are called viviparous. So human beings are viviparous. We give birth to young ones. The young ones come out. But in the case of birds, reptiles, etc., they lay eggs. So those organisms are called oviparous. So what is oviparous? Organisms or animals which lay eggs are called oviparous. And organisms which are giving birth to young ones are called viviparous. So this also may appear as a question. Human beings are dash. Human beings within the bracket it will be viviparous or oviparous. So our answer will be human beings are viviparous. So what is oviparous? Organisms or animals which lay eggs are called oviparous. So there is another term ovoviviparous. Ovoviviparous. So what is this ovoviviparous? Oviparous means egg laying. Viviparous means giving birth to young ones. So what is ovoviviparous? Certain animals. Example, shark, ray, then some bony fishes, shark, ray, some bony fishes, etc. They actually lay eggs, but the eggs do not come out. The eggs are retained inside the body of the female, and within the body of the female organism, female animal, the eggs hatch out into young ones, and these young ones come out. So actually they lay eggs, but the thing is the eggs are not coming out. These eggs are retained inside the body, and the eggs hatch out into young ones inside the body of the female organism, and the young ones will be coming out. Such organisms are called ovoviviparous. Example, shark, ray, some bony fishes, then viper. Viper is a snake. It belongs to ovoviviparous. So, human beings reproduce sexually. Human beings are unisexual, and human beings are viviparous. So, these are the three special features of human reproduction. And in this connection, we have seen what is bisexual organisms. They are called hermaphrodite. Earthworm, leech, etc. are example for hermaphrodite. They have both the male and female reproductive systems. They produce both male and female gametes. And of course, the ovoviviparous condition. What is it? Some animals lay or produce eggs, but the eggs do not come out. The eggs are retained inside the body of the female, and inside the body of the female, these eggs hatch out and becomes young ones, and young ones comes out. Example, shark, ray, some bony fishes, viper, etc. Now we will look at the different stages of human reproduction. The human reproduction involves certain stages. One, gametogenesis. Two, insemination. Three, fertilization. 4, blastulation. 5, implantation. 6, gestation. And 7, parturition. So these are the different stages of human reproduction. Gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, blastulation, implantation, gestation, and parturition. So before we get into these things, we have to look at one more point, that is sexual dimorphism. What is sexual dimorphism? It is the condition that the male and female can be distinguished easily. Suppose 50 numbers of crows are in a tree in front of our house. 50 crows are there. Can you point out the male crows? Or can you point out the female crows? No, we cannot distinguish, because the male and female cannot be distinguished. They have no distinguishing features. But in human beings, 100 people are there on the road. At the first sight itself, we can see that, oh, these are the men, these are the women. So men and women, or the male and female, can be easily distinguished. That state of affairs is called a sexual dimorphism. So human beings have sexual, or human beings exhibit or shows sexual dimorphism. So once again, what do you mean by sexual dimorphism? The male and female can be easily distinguished. That condition is called a sexual dimorphism. Then, okay, now we will go to this. So what are the different stages of human reproduction? There are 7 stages: gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, blastulation, implantation, gestation, and parturition. We will see one by one. What is gametogenesis? Gametogenesis is the process of formation of gametes. There are 2 types of gametes. The male produces the male gamete called a sperm. The female produces the female gamete called a ovum or egg. So gametogenesis is the process of formation of gametes. And gametes are of 2 types. The male gamete is called the sperm, and the female gamete is called ovum or egg. So gametogenesis can be of 2 types. What is it? Male gamete formation, spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis. And the formation of the female gamete as ovum is called oogenesis. So the first stage of human reproduction is gametogenesis. What is it? The process of formation of gametes. It can be formation of male gamete or sperm. It is called spermatogenesis. It can be the formation of the female gamete or ovum or egg. It is called oogenesis. Then the second is insemination. What is insemination? The semen produced by the male has the male gametes or sperms, and these sperms are to be transferred into the female genital tract. That process is called insemination. If fertilization has to take place, the male and female gametes are to be brought together. They have to come together. But the male gamete is produced in the body of the female, in the body of the male, and the female gamete is produced in the body of the female. But how can it come together? So there is insemination. What is insemination? The process of transferring the male gametes into the female genital tract. That process is called the insemination. Then what is fertilization? The third process. Fertilization is the fusion of the male gamete and the female gamete. See, this is the ovum and this is the sperm. The sperm has to get into the ovum and fuse with the ovum. The nucleus, the haploid nucleus inside the sperm fuses with the haploid nucleus inside the egg. The haploid nucleus inside the sperm fuses with the haploid nucleus inside the ovum and becomes again a diploid nucleated cell, and that cell is the zygote. So what is fertilization? Fertilization is the fusion of the male and female gametes to form a diploid single cell called a zygote. Okay, I hope you can follow me. Then what is blastulation? What is blastulation? As a result of fertilization, that means as a result of the fusion of the male and female gametes, a single cell is produced. What do we call it? We call it as the zygote. The zygote is a single cell. The single cell undergoes cleavage. What is cleavage? C-L-E-A-V-A-G-E. What is cleavage? The zygote, which is single cell, undergoes cleavage. Cleavage means division, cell division. What type of cell division? Mitosis. So the one cell, the zygote divides into two. It becomes two cells. Then both the two cells divide and becomes 4 cells. Then becomes 8 cells. Then 16, 32, 64, 128, 256 is growing like that. So what happens? The fertilization produces zygote. The zygote is a single cell, I told you, and it undergoes repeated mitotic division and produces a larger number of cells. And in the initial stage, it assumes a globular shape. In the initial stage, it assumes a globular stage. That stage is called the morula. It is called a morula. It's a stage when the embryo is having 8 to 16 cells. That condition is called the morula. Then what happens? The cells again double, that means it becomes 32. At this stage, the cells get rearranged themselves. The cells by themselves get rearranged and becomes a hollow structure. A hollow structure is like this. It's a one-layered outer wall. It's a one-layered outer wall, and there is in the inside there is a group of cells. So this condition is called a blastula. This process of development of the zygote, which is single cell, into the blastula is called a blastulation. So what is blastulation? Blastulation is the process of growth of the single cell zygote into the blastula condition. It is called a blastulation. At this stage, this blastula moves into the uterus and gets implanted. Implant means get fixed in the inner wall of the uterus. The blastula gets fixed in the inner wall of the uterus. It is called endometrium. The uterus has got 3 layers. The wall of the uterus. The structure we will see later on is like this. This is the outer wall, and here is this is the outer wall, this is the middle wall, and here is the inner wall. So this is perimetrium. Perimetrium, and the middle wall is myometrium, and the inner wall is endometrium. So perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. So the blastula gets fixed. The blastula gets fixed here in the endometrium. This fixation of the blastula in the inner wall of the uterus is called a implantation. So what is implantation? The fixing of blastula into the inner wall, the endometrium of the uterus, is called a implantation. Then after that, the blastula grows and becomes a fully developed baby, and it takes 270 to 280 days for the full development of the baby. That period of growth is called a gestation. So what is gestation? It is the period of growth of the baby, and it takes 270 to 280 days. This period of growth of the embryo into the fully developed baby is called a gestation. Then after that, when the baby is fully grown, it cannot be further retained in the uterus. The baby cannot be retained further within the uterus. So what happens? The baby makes violent movements and creates some reflex, and as a result, the That mechanism is something different that will be learned in detail later on. But the uterus begins to contract. The uterus begins to contract and the baby is pushed out. That is called a parturition. And this process we commonly call as delivery. So what is parturition? It's the process of expelling the baby from the uterus to the outside. So what are the different stages of human reproduction? The human reproduction involves 7 different stages: gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, blastulation, implantation, gestation, and parturition. Now, after this, we have to go into the details of the male and female reproductive systems, its structure, and different processes going on there. And that we will see in the next episode. So here we conclude at this point. Which point? What are the different stages in human reproduction? What are they once again? Gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, blastulation, implantation, gestation, and parturition. Okay, with this we close this episode. Bye.